Dak was like a 2.5-year starter. Cousins was a 3-year starter. And it's not apples to apples because guys at that position start for a while in college and then get to the pros and don't play, right? Chase Daniel started for years in Missouri, right? And he's not a good NFL player, even though he's had a 15-year NFL career. Matt Barkley, right? Longtime backup, 4-year college starter. So just because you start for a long time in college at a Power 5 program does not guarantee you to become an NFL starter, let alone an NFL player. Like, it doesn't guarantee you anything. But if you do, like Cousins and Dak are pretty good examples of, those guys had a lot of reps against really good teams, and it clearly translated, especially for Dak. Like Cousins, it took a while. He was a backup. Dak became the starter immediately, right? Tony Romo breaks his back. Kellen Moore breaks his hand, and Dak Prescott starts as a rookie. And you just start thinking, like, certain guys are, if they're given the opportunity, both Dak and Cousins, like, had to have unique circumstances to get their opportunity. But once they had it, they were kind of prepared to, like, make the most of it. And I wonder if Purdy, just playing at a high level, Dak was all SEC guy twice. I think one first team and one second team, or maybe both second teams. Cousins was only like a honorable mention. Purdy was 2-time first. And the Big 12, you'd say, is a pretty good quarterback conference, right? Because they throw the ball a lot. I mean, not always NFL players, but like
production.
Always, these guys produce. First team All Big 12 twice, and second team All Big 12 his sophomore year. So, like, not only did he played at a super high level. You go, really, the only knock on him, I guess he's got size and not a great arm, but Dak doesn't have a good arm either. But Dak he's much bigger.
He's more of a physical player, yeah. Well, I mean, it's kind of what you're saying is part of this. We were going to talk about it. I think you already started the conversation, scouting Brock Purdy as we go along. Sometimes you get scouting reports from other people. You were a scout for the Philadelphia Eagles. Rewatch the Raider game. Because everything you just said to me, or to us, to all of us in this community, everyone likes to have a community on their podcast. But everything you just said is an explanation for why the guy, and I think what is most jaw-dropping about Brock Purdy is that he looks, to me at least, it's how comfortable he looks in what should be, for most people, a little bit of an uncomfortable situation. We've watched Jimmy Garoppolo try to get more comfortable over the course of his career. Trey Lance looked very uncomfortable early in his career. Brock Purdy looks extremely comfortable. I would say that if you said, what's the overarching thing? Like, you've watched Brock Purdy, what stands out? I'd say, how does he look this comfortable?
I would say one thing I noticed from a positive standpoint is in the pocket, he is not looking at the rush. Like, there are plays when the rush is clearly coming and he's got to scramble. I'm just talking in the pocket when he might get hit or might not get, part of just playing quarterback, completely unfazed and doesn't look scared of what's oncoming. He's so accurate as a pocket passer. One just thing I jotted down, he's hitting everybody in stride. Like, not hitting them in stride. Even just basic plays. Like, there was one crossing route to Juwan Jennings that kind of hit for a bigger play that was a good scheme play. Those are the type plays that Jimmy was just so hit or miss sometimes. Like, you'd have to stop or you'd have to jump and all your momentum would stop, and then you'd get tackled when it should have been a 25-yard gain, but it'd only be 16 yards. In the grand scheme of things, while you're watching, it's like, well, whatever, first down, move the chains. When you watch him play, they're getting all these extra, not the yak bros where Debo's got to make 7 guys miss, or, Ayuk has to run around the guy, where the play is there to be made, and you're going to get extra yards if you just hit him like good quarterbacks do. He does that all the time, guy. All the time. I mean, his accuracy in hitting guys as they are not breaking stride is phenomenal. It really is.
When you were scouting college guys, was that part of the grading? Like, completed passes obviously are all completions, but like on target versus,
I mean, I don't think
players are different sizes and all that kind of thing. But
yeah, I mean, maybe it would have been something I would have personally done as time would have gone on, and I think about it much more than since we've been doing it. Part of it is just like, I'm a much better scout now doing what we do, just because think of all the different players we've seen over the years. Part of, like, it's experience in any business. You kind of know, like, yeah, I could see this working or I couldn't see this working. just think of all the quarterbacks we've seen in our time, like watching all the Raiders and Niners teams, like of just, Derek. Anyone can scout. And one thing I learned, like when we'd have free agent meetings, no one asked my opinion on like Ndamukong Suh or Haloti Ngata, or, it's like my mom could watch fucking Randy Moss in his prime. You're really evaluating Derek Carr on down, right? That's where you make your money. And that's most of the players, right? And, I think Derek and Jimmy are pretty good barometers of like, these guys would start on most teams, but do you really want them? And then once you don't really know until you see someone else, right? And I always thought pretty highly of Jimmy, and I do. But you realize kind of how flawed he was as a passer for a guy that's supposed to hang his hat on quick release accuracy. Clearly that ain't his deal once you watch Purdy.
Well, quick release is his deal.
It's his deal, but part of like quick release and just get the ball to the guy and let them make plays. Well, he throws it all around. So it's like they make plays, it turns out, because I don't know, Debo's one of the great playmakers in like the history of the league through his like couple years in his prime. I mean, Kittle is an all-time yak tight end type player. You watch Purdy, it's like, I think Purdy could play with a lot of different players, right? He wouldn't be caught to one. Like, he doesn't need Debo. Now, I'm not saying you don't want Debo, but like
Calvin Johnson probably wouldn't be his ideal superstar, but
no, but even there was a play, I think we mentioned this after the game, on that throw down the sideline to Juwan Jennings. Like, only one guy was going up and making it. And the DB made a good play and kind of knocked it out, or maybe he dropped it. One negative thing I have on him, and he doesn't do this a lot, like he's pretty locked in. He can't afford, because of his physical attributes, to go Rodgers and Mahomes and get casual. On the pass, on the throwback to Kittle, Sanchez, I just had the volume up, and I watched it on the condensed version, so you just hear little snippets. Sanchez makes some really good points. On the throwback to Kittle, the corner, Robinson, does a good job, doesn't bite, so he beelines it back, right? So realizes they're going to run this like back crosser behind him. So he beelines back. He ends up making the pick. But Sanchez was like, Brock, fucking rip it toward the end zone. We're only, Kittle, just let him run under it. Worst case scenario, you overthrow him. Purdy, who is clearly not afraid to get hit or whatever, kind of casually threw off his back foot. A little Jimmy stuff. Didn't need to. Could have stepped into it. And, he has the arm where he has to kind of let it rip. And if he would have done that, it was fine. He kind of just got, as the kids say, in his bag or whatever. He was just kind of feeling himself. I bet that's something Kyle was like, bro, you need to set your feet and let it rip there. You can't go Rodgers back foot. Like there was a play in the Miami game where Rodgers hit Mercedes Lewis, and it was just like, boop, like way down the sideline. It was sweet. But him and like three other guys can do that. Purdy does have to play with his feet set, and because when his feet are set, his ball is pretty good velocity. It's not like 99 miles an hour, but he's not Alex Smith. Like he's getting enough on it on the line, slants and stuff.
I would say it's good news that interception was because he didn't throw it as hard as he could. It'd be bad news if that throw initially live, I thought, oh my God, he just tried to cut that loose, and that's as far as
he kind of throws with his feet leaning back. Like he's not talented enough to do that.
I wonder if he thought that thing was a walk-in when he let it go, because you could I just remember Sanchez reacts like, oh, like I think everyone thought on TV, on the TV broadcast, you can't see where he's throwing the ball at the moment where he drops back, which but everyone reacts like Kittle must have looked. I haven't seen the L22 of it, just wide ass open, right? I wonder if he thought.
I think the DB. Well, the DB was up more,
and then turned around and just went straight back, right?
Yeah. I wonder too. This is one of those classic ones. This is where you need experience in the league. I bet in practice it was just a lollipop. Whoop, right? Just throw it up there, wide open. And just all you have to do is make sure in this offense, Brock, just hit him. So worst case scenario, gets tackled. We just like completing this pass. We scheme this guy open. We've missed this pass 80% of the time over the years.
Maybe he overthrew it in practice.
Who knows? But to me, it's just some of his wayward passes, I noticed just feet not set. Again, I don't think in his mind he's like getting casual, but just maybe loses focus a little bit, because when he's locked in and like his feet are set, everyone's in stride. Bing, bang, boom, boom. Like rewatching Stidham, I do get like Stidham's got some physical tools, right? Big, can move, big arm. Can the one pass he threw to Devontae for the touchdown where he's scrambling back? It's kind of like it's one of those like, damn. Like rewatching that, I
Hit
was
on
like,
that play.
what?
Took a hit on that play.
Crushed.
Hufanga. Yeah.
But this is what it shows you. Like, if you just put it in a vacuum, Jarrett Stidham is physically superior to Purdy. Taller, bigger arm, bigger prospect, the whole thing. But then you watch Purdy play, you're like, that's just, and I'm not taking, Stidham was good in that game. But now I've seen the 4 games of work with Purdy. It's like, we were talking about this, I think on Thursday, like, everything is just translatable. It's not like he's RG3 and like doing 7 360s a game and throwing like 80-yard bombs. It's like, is this kind of hit or miss? Even when you look back at Kaepernick's career as not the running, but the passing, a lot of it was just really, really explosive plays. It was like, well, could you just hit the basic stuff? He hits the basic stuff with ease. That's, and I bet Campbell would say he's been doing that since we recruited him out of high school. Like, he has to hang his hat on that.
And that's part of the frustration sometimes with Garoppolo is the stuff that's basic. For a vet, again, I don't want to go down the Garoppolo road again because he made a lot of the solid plays, but there would just be times where the simple play didn't get made and it would just throw everything off.
And that's where, to me, like the Cousins group is where, I throw Derek in there, Dak. That's that group, like, given obviously they can have like top 5 weeks, but over the course of the year, they usually land between like 9 and 13 range, right? Give or take. That you can win pretty consistently in that range if your coach is good and your team's solid. And I just think Purdy, like, I do think he has some skills to translate to potentially be in that world because unlike Cousins can't make something out of nothing. He's not a good enough athlete. So he can't throw off platform. Like Dak can. This guy can. Now, Dak, before the ankle injury, right, was this guy's not a running threat, but he knows that. So he doesn't, honestly, he does that. His running is the throwaway.
He does the blind, he's done it a couple times now where his back is to the defender. He steps right, only knowing that he's going to step left. And I wonder if one guy's going to bank on that move at some point and hit him from the blind side. But
he's going to get hit for sure. But wouldn't you imagine he's done that, like he learned that move against Baylor and other teams over the years, right?
Yeah.
Like I doubt he just freelanced it in the league.
It's just a dicey move because the time it doesn't work is going to be a 12-yard loss.
Well, it's going to be fucking Micah Parsons or Hassan Reddick.
Yeah, I mean, it may be. I don't. It's great that he's got it in the bag. I don't want to see it every week.
Well, I'll tell you this. What if it's round 2 and you're playing Micah Parsons and he doesn't bite and he slams you, the ball comes bouncing out, and then Sam Williams picks it up and goes to the house and you're down 10-0.
But, if that's the worst thing that happens, that's a terrible thing. But it's the overall on the balance. I'd be curious, like, if you were still scouting in Philly, what you guys are, what the guys who scouted him are saying. I bet there's a lot of, I knew it, man. I just knew it being said in some of these scouting departments.
I think inherently a lot of people are against little people in pro sports. Basketball and football for sure.
So you think there's a lot of like, just wait and see, just wait and see?
I would just say you bet against a guy that feels like he's 6 foot, 190 pounds.
Yeah.
The way he looks. I think it's less about he'll see because he does a lot of good stuff, right? At Iowa State. It's more like this guy's too small. This guy's too small. Look at what's happening to Kylers and Bakers. Like they're crumbling like cookies in the league. This guy's gonna make it. It's honestly an easy one to argue from that side, and I don't blame anyone. Shit, the Niners. I mean, they could have taken him in the 4th. I mean, it's not like they thought he was going to be like Trey Lance's back. It was Mr. Irrelevant.
263. And one thing we know about Kyle,
you do get credit for, because one thing it does show that they liked him, right? When you pick someone, that means you liked him in the building. Whether it's a position coach pound the table, an Adam Peters, like he had supporters. And usually that one guy supports hard enough, and enough people are kind of like, okay, we like this guy too.
Yeah. But like 40 picks before, Kyle Shanahan could have stood on the table and be like, we are not taking Tariq Castro Fields Brock has lasted this long. We're taking Brock Purdy. Didn't do it. So
now part of football in the draft is a market value.
I know, but what I'm saying is we've seen with Kyle before when maybe it was the lesson learned from CJ Beathard. The one position that doesn't have the value just matters less is quarterback. No one ever says we overdrafted him in the 6th round.
Put it this way,
right?
Purdy was not allowed to play the rest of the season. Removed from the Niners, he was going in the 2023 draft. Where does he go?
Well, he doesn't go first.
No, but this film exists. Like, you've seen him play for the Niners.
He goes in the 1st round.
You think so?
Top 20. I think so.
You think he goes in the 1st round?
I do. Yeah.
I was going to say he does not make it past the top 50. Because I still think there would be people like, oh, they got a loaded roster. They got Kyle. We got a defensive coach.
Yeah. Well, he wouldn't get past. Does McVay have a 2nd round pick? He wouldn't get past McVay. Or
no, because they were denied for McCaffrey. That crossed my mind today, too, watching the games. Like, what if the Rams would have landed him? Would they have regretted that? What a waste that would have been.
Yeah. Right. Or maybe they'd be a Super Bowl contender now.
But also what's fun about sports, like for as cool as it is to do the little exercise, where would he go? He went Mr. Irrelevant. That's forever his story, which makes him kind of way more interesting. Honestly, like what makes Dak and Cousins so they wouldn't be as fascinating if they were like, Cousins, fuck, well, what do you guys think? He's the number 2 overall pick. Dak went 3 right behind, I'm trying to think of like some sweet player, but I think Dak was in Derek and Jimmy's draft.
Well, what's funny is
no, he was a couple years later. He was in Goff and Wentz's draft.
I said Brock Purdy's living Tom Brady's dream, which of course is a joke in that Brock Purdy got to lead a comeback win for the 49ers. Like that was always Tom Brady's dream. But Tom has all these rings, so but like he was drafted closer to Tom Brady than any of these other guys. Like that he and Tom Brady share, right?
Yeah.
That they share. I'm not saying anything other than that experience of being drafted late, being drafted in the 5th, being drafted dead ass last is pretty crazy. I mean,
well, if he started the whole year, there might be someone close to the 49ers that texts me, not on the staff, but kind of on the staff. Several weeks ago, like, we'd only have 1 loss if this guy had been the quarterback the whole time. You start looking at the numbers, like, would he have thrown for 35 touchdowns, or was there bound to be regression? That's what kind of makes this whole thing so fascinating. I keep getting farther and farther away. Like, I don't know. It seems translatable what he's doing, guy.
Right. I know. I mean, he's the first rookie quarterback to start 4-0 since. Do you know this one? First rookie quarterback to win it sorry, let me rephrase it. The first rookie quarterback to win his first 4 straight starts.
Lamar Jackson.
Further back, right division.
Roethlisberger.
Ben. Okay.
04.
Ben, week 3 takes over. He wins his first 4 games. Do you know what his starting record was that year?
Well, I mean, I think that team was the number. They were like 15-1, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. He went
13-0.
He did not lose a start. They lost week 2 when he did not play. Or maybe he actually came in for Tommy Maddox week 2 and they lost. And then he won the next 13 games. In fact, it was so good that he was inactive week 17 because they were like, bench him.
They had the number 1 seed.
So that year, I'll just give you some like numbers here. He was 163, 174, 231, 193. Like Ben was never really that year. We have to go back.
Can I give you a guess on how many touchdowns he threw?
Yeah.
So he started 13 games, but he played 14 because he sat the last one, so he played in
kind of Purdy-esque in that the game that he debuted in, he actually played most of it. Like Tommy Maddox only completed 4 balls that day.
So KO'd early. I'd probably guess under 20 touchdowns.
Yeah, 17 touchdowns, 11 picks.
Guy, this guy has 10 touchdowns in 4.5 games. 10.
Now, he never threw the ball. We have to acknowledge one thing, kind of a different, 04 was a long time ago. He did not throw the ball as much as, like, do you have Purdy's game log in front of you?
No.
1, 2. So he threw. Well, I mean, maybe it was actually kind of
Purdy's
similar.
throwing 20 at 25 attempts. Purdy is not throwing it 45 times a game, is he?
No. But even like, I'm just looking like week 8, 18 attempts. This is Roethlisberger, 16 attempts, 17, 19.
You're right, though. Ben played kind of in a different era. Like he only
had
threw over
one-
32 touchdowns like 3 times in his career.
So that's a little different. But, Kyle would have fit in that era. He had a 300-yard passing game, just one. He actually only had 2 games in 13 starts over 200 yards passing. 2 starts over 200 yards passing that year. Brock, I think, had 3 straight over 200 yards.
Yeah.
So and the Dolphins game, right? So 4 out of the 5, Brock's been over 200. Is that right?
Yes. Well, definitely. I mean, he's been obviously the Tampa Bay game, obviously this last game against the Raiders.
Yeah. So the Raiders was 284, 234, 217, 210. So, it's a little different, but 5th straight game with multiple touchdown passes. Second longest streak by a rookie since the merger. Justin Herbert has the record with 7. Did it in front of no fans in 2020, but whatever.
It's translated well.
Yeah. And multiple touchdowns in each of the last 5 games. The only rookies to do that and win all 5 games in NFL history, him and Dak Prescott. All guys that played a lot, and 3 of the 4 of those guys were, well, Ben was a first rounder, but not a big school guy necessarily. Justin was first rounder and a big school guy.
But I think what parallels Ben and Dak is they went to pretty sweet teams. Because I remember Tony being so devastated on his injury because he's like, this is the best team I've ever been on. Remember, he thought we finally have a defense, our offensive line's good, and he was devastated because he's like, this is my time. Like, this is when I shut everyone the fuck up. We're winning big. We're equipped. And Dak came in, and that year, actually, Aaron Rodgers beat them in the I looked because I was thinking about the Packers, so I did some Googling. In 2016, the Packers started 4-6. They won their last 6 games to go 10-6, get in the playoffs, win the division. I forget, they beat the Giants on Miami Boatgate the first round. They went on the road to a 1 or 2 loss Cowboy team who was clearly, again, the best Cowboy season of like the last 20 years in a regular season. Everyone was picking them to like make a legit run. Rodgers beat them. Probably the worst Jason Garrett loss, given the hype. Last year was pretty big.
Then they got blunt.
Then they got killed by Matt Ryan and Kyle.
What happened that year? Because they were 1-2. They were 4-2. Then they lost 4 straight.
I think something happened to Rodgers. Yeah.
Let me click on a box score.
I'm just saying the last time they got hot, they made some noise.
Well, dude, it's terrifying. I think they are. I mean, but this is the way it is. Like, it's just.
But to Roethlisberger and to Dak,
Rodgers played. Andrew Luck beat him.
They both got to do what we thought Trey Lance was going to do. Go to a sweet-ass team, ease into your career, and then become a guy over time. It's honestly what everyone thought. It's like, God, is there a better spot to go to? Debo, Ayuk, Kittle. This guy, Juwan Jennings, made sweet plays. You got 75 running backs, even after they were all hurt. It's like, trade for McCaffrey. Cool, let's do it. Trent Williams. Almost retired, then decided to come play for Kyle and become, I don't know, the best player we've seen ever for the 49ers.
Nobody ever talked about Trent Williams when he was on the football team.
Nobody.
How is that possible?
Nick Bosa, I don't know, he's just become like Khalil Mack, the white version, but even better. It's like, what the fuck? I mean, this team they just signed this corner from the Chiefs, who turns out to be the sweetest corner the Niners have had in a decade. It's like everything. Hufanga can't cover anybody, but they don't even need him to because he just lights up everybody. It's like everything works. Greenlaw, they extend him. It's like, is this worth it? Should they have extended the other guy? Hell yeah, he becomes Fred Warner Jr. This team is just ideal. Like Roethlisberger, I bet a lot of people were jealous in that time of like Ben's. Like, look what team he gets to play for.
100%.
Now, part of why Ben's an all-time great player, right? He's also 6'6", 250 pounds. Like,
I think what really helps you be an all-time great is when you win a championship really early in your career. Which
what happened to Russell?
Tom did. Russell did, yeah. Before you had to carry, like all 3 of them won championships when they didn't have to carry.